عليكم جميعا. أنا اسمي خديجة الرملاوي. أنا الكو-فاوندر مؤسس شريك لوصلة كونكت. أهلا وسهلا فيكم اليوم بسيشن معنا. كتير مبسوطين إنه نشوف هذا العدد وكتير مبسوطين إنكم معنا. خليني بس سريعا للي ما بيعرف وصلة أعرف عنها بشكل كتير سريع. رح أحكي أنا بالعربي. هي السيشن اليوم حيكون كثير مفيدة وكثير بتجنن. هي بالإنجليش رح تكون. بس إذا في إشي مش فاهمينه أو في أشياء آم، يعني حابين عادي ممكن تسألونا وإحنا ممكن نساعدكم. المهم أنا اسمي خديجة الرملاوي. أنا وصديقتي عاتقة علي عملنا وصلة كونكت. وصلة كونكت هي نون بروفيت، يعني مؤسسة خيرية ما بناخذ فلوس. بنحاول إنه نساعد الشباب الفلسطيني، بالذات الشباب الفلسطينيين النازحين في غزة، سواء داخل قطاع غزة أو طلعوا برا قطاع غزة. بنحاول إنه نساعدهم بمجال التك عن طريق 3 برامج إحنا نوفرها بوصلة. البرنامج الأول والكبير هو برنامج المنتورشيب. إحنا بنعطي فرصة نعمل منتورشيب لأي حدا من غزة، نربطه في منتور من أمريكا وبالذات من السيليكون فالي، وأحيانا بيكون من كندا، لحتى تحكوا مع بعض. وهذا بيكون البرنامج مدته 4 شهور. بتكون برنامج كامل، بتحطوا أهداف بتمشوا عليها. كل حدا له منتور واحد بس، يعني مش منتور بيعمل منتورينج لمجموعة 5 أو 10، لا، هاي انت personalized experience بس انت إلك لحالك أو إليك أنت. بيكون اللقاءات عبارة عن 30 دقيقة بالأسبوع، ممكن أكتر. بيكون الموضوع flexible. أنتوا بتاخدوا الموضوع مع المنتور اللي أنتوا إحنا بنربطكم فيه. خلال هدول ال4 شهور بتشتغلوا على الأهداف اللي أنتوا قررتوا أنتوا تشتغلوها مع المنتور، سواء أنت بدك أو أنت بدك تلاقوا شغل، بدكم تحاولوا تشوفوا دراسة تانية، بدكم تحاولوا تاخدوا شغل فريلانس، بدكم تطوروا مهاراتكم، بدكم تاخدوا كورسات، بدكم تدخلوا على كارير جديد، بدكم تدخلوا على مجال جديد. احنا بنحاول نربطكم بالمنتور اللي من قاعدة بيانات المنتورز اللي عندنا. بنربطكم وبصير عندكم هذا البرنامج لمدة 4 شهور بتشتغلوا عليه بشكل شخصي. احنا الحمد لله شفنا نتائج كتير كبيرة، كتير حلوة. خلال يعني 7 على الأقل من المشتركين معنا قدروا إنهم يلاقوا شغل. في منهم عن طريق المنتورز، في منهم عن طريق أصحاب المنتورز. مش إحنا ما بنوعدكم إنه نلاقي الشغل، بس في إشي تاني بنوعدكم فيه، إنه بنهاية المنتورشيب، بنهاية ال4 شهور، بناخذ السي في تبعتكم اللي احنا بنكون نشتغل عليها أول بأول. بنطالب بكم إنكم تحضروها وتظبطوها ونبعتها لريكروترز. الريكروترز هدول مهتمين بتوظيفكم، فبيساعدوكم بالتوظيف. فكل ما انتم جيتوا معنا واهتميتوا في البرنامج واشتغلتوا كثير على حالكم، إن شاء الله بتلاقوا نتائج أكبر. لحتى تسجلوا بهذا البرنامج، هلا بتحط نور تسجيل في الشات. آم، في ابلكيشن بتعبوه كامل. ونحن بنعمل معكم مقابلة سريعة وبنفهم منكم قدراتكم ومهاراتكم وتطلعاتكم، وبنحاول إنه نشبككم بأقرب وقت. إحنا عندنا الديدلاين رح يكون ب15/8 أظني، أو هلأ نور بتحط كمان شوي. الإشي الثاني، إحنا كمان بنعمل جوب ريدنس تريننج زي اللي هلأ إحنا موجودين فيها اليوم. هي مفتوحة لأي حدا، هذا مفتوحة للكل. أما المنتورشيب لا، لازم تسجلوا، بتعملوا أبليكيشن طويل، مش طويل كتير بس عشان نقدر نفهم كل احتياجاتكم، وبتعملوا. أما هلأ السيشن زي هاي مفتوحة دائما، بنعملها مرتين بالشهر. بنحاول نجيب لكم خبراء في المجال، بيساعدوا في السيفيهات، بيساعدوا بالانترفيو، بيساعدوا حتى في أشياء تقنية معينة للي بده. دائما إحنا بننبسط بكل الناس اللي بيقعدوا اللي بيحضروا معنا، وكتير بننبسط من مشاركتكم. ولأي حدا ما بيقدر يشارك وحابب يحضر وما قدر، احنا حنحط لكم هلا نور اليوتيوب تشانل بتفوتوا فيها، موجود كل السيشنات الموجودة. بس احنا برضه بنحب انه نشوفكم حتى نسمع منكم آرائكم واستفساراتكم بالتشات، او اذا بدكم بالأسئلة. الإشي الثالث إنه إحنا عندنا برنامج مع الجامعة الأمريكية في القاهرة American University in Cairo of Cairo اللي هي AUC. هذا للناس اللي معانا اللي قدروا يكونوا معانا في برنامج المنتورشيب. بنعطيهم فرصة إنهم يعملوا ياخذوا كورسات في الجامعة الأمريكية، سواء كورسات لحتى هيك تكملوا شوي لو دخل في شهاداتكم، أو أنت حابين تاخذوا كورس بمجال معين. هاي الكورسات إحنا بنغطيها، إحنا بندفعها. ولكن عشان تدفعوها لازم تكونوا معنا في برنامج المنتورشيب، سوري، عشان تنضموا لها لازم تكون مع برنامج المنتور. من الأشياء اللي إحنا بنعطيها، وكمان بنعمل كورسات مخصصة غير الكورسات اللي أنت بتقدر تاخذها بشكل شخصي، واللي إحنا عندنا من الناس الناس اللي قدموها اوريدي أخذوا كذا كورسات في أخذ بروجرامز حتى. بس كمان بنعمل كورسات خاصين بس يعني customized courses مخصصة فقط لمشاركين. ف عندنا كل هاي المعلومات عن وصلة كونكت. إن شاء الله يا ربي ما أكون طولت عليكم. إذا عندكم أي سؤال اكتبوه بالتشات. هلأ نور أنا متأكدة إنه حطت كل الأشياء المناسبة، بس عادي يسألونا. خلينا اليوم بسيشن اليوم. اليوم إن شاء الله حتكون سيشن كتير حلوة ومميزة مع حدا كتير 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 مميز، الأستاذ سلمان. أستاذ سلمان يعني من مش بس هو شاطر جدا بمجاله، وكتير كتير بريليانت وذكي جدا. هو كمان من أكبر المناصرين لفلسطين، very pro-Palestinian و very على كل المنصات تبعته. فإحنا كتير بنقدر اليوم الفرصة اللي هو إجانا، اللي هو أعطانا إياها إنه يأتي هاي السيشن. هو متخصص في الأمن السيبراني، وكمان متخصص في أمن المعلومات، وعنده خبرة كتير طويلة، وعنده خبرة حوالي 20 سنة، وعنده خبرة 12 سنة في التدريب للناس. فاليوم رح يحكي عن أهم المعلومات اللي بيعرفها لحتى إنك أنت او انتي انه انتوا تنجحوا بالانترفيو من وجهة نظر الريكروتر. هلا هو مش بفلسطين، هو او مش بالوطن العربي، هو بكندا. هو بيحكي انجلش، وعنده كتاب اسمه ايس انترفيو. عنده هلا رح احط، هو حطها قبل شوي، حط اللينكد ان تري. خليني احطها كمان مرة، اللينكد تري في كل المعلومات تبعته. هلا رح اخليه انه يشرح بالضبط اللينكد ان تبعه، الكتاب وكل اشي. كتير بنصحكم انكم تتابعوه، كتير بنصحكم انكم تنضموا للنيوزلتر تبعته. بيعمل بشكل اسبوعي لقاءات واجتماعات بيحكي فيها عن فلسطين من ناحية تقنية، من ناحية الشركات والاويرنس. كتير 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 حلو، واحنا كتير بنقدرين هذا الاشي له. فكتير حابة إنكم تستفيدوا منه وتتعرفوا عليه أكتر. وإذا عندكم أي سؤال بليز ارفعوا إيدكم، وإحنا يعني هو رح يجاوب، أو تكتبوا بالتشات. وأنا هلأ رح أخلي أستاذ سلمان إنه يعرف عن حاله ويشرح أكتر كمان. So I was talking a little bit about you, Salman. Please go ahead and introduce yourself if you please. And please, if you can, share your screen just so you can explain to the people your link tree and all the things that you're involved to. Thank you so much for your time and your efforts. We really, really appreciate so, and we're honored to have you here with us today.
It's my honor. Again, thank you for having me. Can you see my screen?
I can.
Okay,
Yes.
awesome. Thank you. So yeah, I don't speak Arabic, but Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I heard my name a little bit and Linktree and other words in the middle, so I could tell that she was talking about me. Thank you for the introduction. I appreciate it. So I'm going to share a bunch of things, and all the links that I'm going to share, they are in the link tree. So this is a link tree that I use for a few things. I am doing some activism and community organizing, speaking up for Palestine. So I do like a weekly community meeting event. Everyone is welcome to join. It's called Freedom Advocacy Network. And you can subscribe and join that weekly meeting if you like. It's at 8 p.m. Palestine time every week on Wednesdays. So I won't get into that now. I'm also launching a whistleblowing platform in a month or so. And again, I won't focus on that right now. The most important thing here would be the book that you can download, and we'll talk about that in some detail. And then if anybody would like to connect, you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. And you're welcome to check out the other links as well. So I've just kind of consolidated all the links so that you don't have to find them in different places. My name is Salman Naqvi. I'm the author of Ace the Interview. This is a book I wrote 8 years ago. It's a very short book. You can probably go through it in 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 hours of reading time. I've kept it intentionally short. It's to help IT professionals prepare for interviews. And even though it's focused on IT professionals, it doesn't have to be just for IT professionals. It can be useful for other professionals as well. And then there's links to my other websites that I just mentioned, activism related. And then this is my own technical blog website as well, in which I've put whatever I'm up to in my current job. I've been in IT for 20 years. I've coached and helped prepare for interviews, updated resumes of more than 450 people in the last 12 years. I'm a Pakistani Canadian, and I wrote this book for people like you, for people like me. Everybody gets nervous for interviews. I remember going into interviews with sweaty palms and nervous energy, and I wanted to kind of help people like myself, like yourselves, be better prepared for interviews. And after helping hundreds of people, I wrote this book so that gathering all the lessons from different experiences, different professionals, and then putting it all in one place. So the book is available for download 100% free, so you can go to the link tree and download the book. Um, so, and then I'll just share just a tiny bit more. In the 20 plus years in IT, I've worked in more than 20 different organizations, including Amazon, United Nations, Government of Canada, Cisco, and several other big and small organizations, public and private sector, education. Basically, I've worked everywhere. And during that process, I have given hundreds of interviews and I've conducted hundreds of interviews. So we'll just get right into it. And everything basically in this call, what I'm going to do is summarize the book. And what I'm also going to do is try to finish my speaking part in 30 minutes, hopefully less, so that you don't get bored of listening to me. And I want to have a conversation with all of you and have a discussion and answer your questions, things like that. So why do we want to even prepare? So by the time you get to the interview stage, you already have 20, 25, 30% chance of getting the job, because most companies only interview 3 or 4 or 5 candidates, and one of them gets the job. So by the time you're already at the interview stage, you already have a very decent chance of getting the job. But we want to make sure that that candidate that gets the job is you. And so preparing for an interview, which too many people unfortunately don't do well, will help you be successful in an interview, inshallah. In the book, I have 3 sections. So let's say you have an interview tomorrow, and so you don't have 20 hours to prepare for an interview. So then you can just go through like a quicker section, quicker kind of preparation guideline. And same thing, if your interview is day after tomorrow, again, you don't have a lot of time. Ideally, you want to spend 20 or more hours preparing for an interview. And that's a lot of time, understandably. And in my book, and then in this short call, we'll go over what you spend that time doing. And one of the most important things I want everyone to remember from this call is that you should spend a lot of your time preparing for behavioral questions. Behavioral questions, by the time you get to an interview, the interviewers have already seen your resume, already seen your skills on paper, and they do verify those skills. Maybe they ask you some technical questions. Maybe they ask you to do a little bit of coding, a little bit of configuration. But more than anything, the interview is to make sure that you are compatible with the people you're going to be working with. What are behavioral questions? So those are questions like, tell me about yourself. What are your strengths and weaknesses? How do you handle competing priorities? Why do you want to work for our company? Things like that. And so these questions are at the end of the book in the link. And we'll talk about this a little bit more in more detail. By the way, people are welcome to ask questions in the middle as well. So if anybody wants to ask questions, please don't be shy. Speak up and raise your hand. And if you're so inclined, come on camera, whatever you're comfortable with. So the interview process begins right from when you get the first call for the interview. So you want to be prepared even for that first call. And so when you get that call, you say, hello, Salman Naqvi speaking, and you have no idea who the person on the other side might be. You want to, while you're actively looking for jobs and you're expecting calls for interviews, you always want to be in that professional mode, right? And you want to smile while talking. And when you smile, the other person on the other side, they can hear the smile and they can hear the enthusiasm. And you want to show excitement. People who are hiring, they want to know that you're excited to hear from them. And if you know, like if the call has been scheduled ahead of time, maybe they email you and they say, I'll call you at 9 a.m. or whatever. Consider even getting dressed for the call, like you would get dressed for an interview. So wear your suit and tie, wear your dress, whatever you would wear for a professional interview for the men and women here. And practice that enthusiasm with your family members, with your husband, wife, your daughter, your son, your parents. And so you want to convey excitement in your voice. And so, hi, I'm really glad to hear from you. I'm excited to, I was really excited to see the job description for this role. And I'm so happy that you called, right? And so you really want to convey your excitement, your enthusiasm with your words. And then what happens with a lot of jobs, especially in North America and European market, is those good jobs go through recruiters. So what happens with many jobs is that let's say there's a software engineering job. 500 or 1,000 people might apply for that job. So nobody's going to look at 1,000 resumes. And so what a lot of companies do is they outsource the searching of the candidates to recruiting agencies. And so what those recruiting agencies do is from the thousands of people or hundreds of people that apply, they choose 2 or 3 of the best candidates and they give them to the company to interview. And then if they do like one of the candidates, then the recruiting company gets a really nice commission. So just for easy numbers, let's say the job that you're applying to, the salary is $100,000 a year or 100,000 dirhams a year, whatever the currency is. The recruiting company gets 15, 20, 25% of the salary of 1 year in their fees. So they don't get your salary. That's how much money, that's how much their fees are. So 20% of one person's salary for a whole year, which is a lot of money, whether it's in dollars or dirhams or whatever the other currency might be. So the recruiter wants to make sure that the company hires the person that they have put forward. And the company will only hire the person that they have put forward if they find the best candidate. And they will only put your resume forward to their client, their company, if they think you are the best candidate. And for them to think that you're the best candidate, you have to be on your best behavior when talking to recruiters and treat them like royalty. Treat them like they're kings and queens and be on your best behavior, smiling, enthusiasm, and just be ready to brag about all your best qualities, your successes, your portfolio, all the amazing things you might have done in your career so far.
Sorry for
So
interrupting.
yeah,
Thank you
please.
so much. Just we have a question about what is the best way to answer, introduce yourself. Do you want to answer now or keep it for the end, whenever you are
No,
ready?
I can answer now. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
so introduce yourself in which situation? Like when you're in the interview or when you're getting the call the first time?
Interview. I'm asking about the interview question.
Okay. Okay. So when they ask you, okay, please tell me about yourself.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Okay. So I have a slide dedicated to that, and I will answer that question in a few slides. But that's a very important question and a very good question. I'm really happy you asked. So, but I will get to it in a couple of slides. And actually, that is like one of the most important questions for you to prepare for. So I'm really happy you asked. All right. So basically, what you want to be prepared for every stage of the interview, from that initial call to preparation to research to actually doing the interview, and then sending a thank you note after the interview. And we're going to go through all of that. So when you're getting that initial call, you see that a call is coming in. You say, "Hi, Salam alaikum, Salman Naqvi speaking." You want to always, while you're looking for a job, you want to always be in your best behavior, enthusiastic, energetic behavior, and um, and show your excitement when they call you with words like, "I'm so excited to hear from you. I'm so happy to. I'm this role has a lot of really cool features, and like I'm really looking forward to learning more about this role and potentially joining your company and things like that." When they call you, and let's say they call you on a Monday, and they say, "Okay, we would like to set up an interview with you," request a minimum of 3 days. So it is perfectly reasonable to say, "Okay, I'm busy Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Can we do an interview Friday or next Monday?" It's perfectly okay to do that, and you should always do that. So when you say, okay, you want the interview to be minimum 3 days, then minimum 3 days later, then that gives you a lot of time to prepare for that interview. And you want to really make use of that time. And 20 hours is like the minimum I suggest. I personally spend much more than that. And so for my last interview, I spent 40 hours preparing um, with the government of Canada. And the interview before that with Amazon AWS, I spent 100 hours preparing. And I have a whole list of notes that I can show you that I all the preparation that I did during that time. And those were successful interviews. Also in the interview, ask for the interviewer's names and roles, and ask them what type of interview it will be. Sometimes they tell you, okay, this interview will be strictly technical. And if it is going to be strictly technical, then you just focus on the technical part and maybe prepare for the behavioral stuff later, right? So if you know what to expect, then you can prepare better. And don't be shy about asking these questions. Interviewers will never mind, never be upset about you asking questions. They'll be happy that you're a person who asks questions, and that's important. Then you want to get into the research phase. Again, this is something like so basic, but too many people don't do this well enough. So look at the company, look at their mission statement, see if they have anything in the news recently, see if you even want to work for that company. Maybe that company makes weapons and you don't want to work for a weapons manufacturer, right? And so maybe you just cancel the interview. I don't know. Look at their, Google them and look at their LinkedIn profile. The list of interviewers that you get. Look at their job titles. Look at their posts on LinkedIn. See what they're talking about. And then as you're going through this, start making notes. And things during that whole time, you want to think from their perspective. So imagine you are the technical lead at that company. What would you want to ask yourself in that situation if you were being hired by them, right? And start writing those questions. So make meticulous, detailed notes during the whole process. And let's say the interview is with both a technical lead and a director. Then you can expect that you will have a mix of technical questions and behavioral questions. If an interview is with just a director, then it might be almost all behavioral questions. Again, behavioral questions are questions like the ones at the end of the book that I highlighted earlier as well. And so this had a list of 16 behavioral questions that I recommend preparing for. And then this is one of the most important things I want you to take away from this call. You want to match your resume and the job description and figure out everything that overlaps, that is the same between the job description and your resume, and make sure that you have 2 or 3 talking points, sentences that you can say about each one of those things. Okay, so that is so critically important. This will help you prepare for an interview and be prepared for any and all questions. Okay, so for example, you have Java on your resume and Java is in the job description. Then one example of a talking point might be like, I have 8 years of experience developing Java in 3 different companies. And during that time, I have developed 100,000 lines of code. And in company Acme, in particular, with the Java programming that I did, it resulted in 30% increase in revenue because of feature X, Y, and Z that I implemented. Okay, so, and you want to make tens of these examples, 10, 20, 30, 50 of these examples. You want to write them down. And all this effort that you're going to do, it won't go to waste. So let's say you do this 20 hours of preparation and you do the interview, and God forbid you don't get that role. When you apply and do an interview for the next role for a similar job, you won't have to redo all of that preparation again, because at least 40-50% of your preparation would come in handy for the next interview as well. Okay, so putting in that time and effort really significantly increases your chances. And there's a very high chance that the other 2 or 3 people being interviewed for that same role are not preparing 20 hours. And so if you are, you might even beat out somebody who's technically more capable than you. And this happens all the time. The most technically qualified candidate is not always the one that gets hired. The candidate that is the most liked, the most compatible with the culture, the most likely to work well with the team, those are typically the ones that get hired. You also really want to be well prepared for questions that you don't know the answers to. And so if somebody asks you a question about a technology or feature or let's say a framework, like I don't know, PMBOK framework or Scrum framework or anything like that, right? That you're not familiar with. You want to answer that question honestly, but you want to do it in a way that the end result is you being taken in a positive light, okay? So let's say somebody asks you, how well do you know DMVPN? Have you implemented DMVPN, right? And let's say you have no idea what DMVPN is, right? So then you would answer that question in a positive, honest, positive manner, okay? My primary expertise are in this and that with significant experience in this. I'm not familiar with DMVPN. However, as you can see from my resume, I've done this, this, and that, and I'm sure I can learn this, test it in the lab, deploy it in dev, and then in production and with confidence, okay? So I just kind of summarize that, but what I'll do is I'll give you like a real example of how I would answer this question. So I would say, as you can see from my resume, I've been doing networking, security, and cloud, networking and security for more than 20 years, cloud for the last 5 years. And my primary expertise are in cloud security, MPLS, traffic engineering, data center, routing and switching, enterprise routing and switching. Having said that, unfortunately, I haven't had the opportunity to work with DMVPN technology yet. However, as you can also see from my blog, from my portfolio, from my resume, I'm constantly learning, constantly applying new skills, new technologies, and I will dedicate time to learning DMVPN, test it in the lab, deploy it in the development environment, and then when I'm very confident, work with the team at Acme Incorporated to deploy it in production as well. So you're being honest, you're being transparent, but you are also overwhelmingly leaving them with a positive answer, despite not knowing that technology, right? So that's basically the idea of how you handle questions about technologies or frameworks or anything you don't know about. And technology is changing all the time. You will run into these kind of questions. And answering these kind of questions properly, it takes practice. So, and then we'll have a slide dedicated to that as well. Sorry, just one second. All right, so we'll come to Usaid's question. So tell me about yourself, right? How do you introduce yourself? And so these are what I call open-ended questions. Tell me about yourself. And then some other ones that are in here as well. Why do you want to work for us? Why should we hire you? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Things like that. And these kind of questions are the questions that give you the opportunity to shine in an interview. So besides these questions, they might ask you, tell me about your experience in Java. Tell me about how you implemented this code. Tell me how you configured this, right? And they might get to know some small parts of you here and there, but they still don't get to know all of you, right? These type of questions are golden opportunities in an interview to tell them about all of your best expertise, your best accomplishments, your most impressive accomplishments. And so these are the type of questions you really want to be extra prepared for, okay? And you can answer these questions by talking about your most important accomplishments, your best experiences, and your major projects, okay? And so to answer these questions, have your resume right in front of you, right? And so that's why I have my resume open here. And so if I was asked the question, please tell me about yourself, I would do something like this. And I haven't prepared, but normally, I would be more prepared for an interview. But I would say something like this. Thank you so much for interviewing me. I'm really excited about the cloud security role at Acme Incorporated. This experience, the role and the job description really lines up well with my experiences. My most recent role is currently with United Nations, where I'm working as a cloud security architect. Prior to this, I was also a cloud security architect at the Government of Canada, and prior to that, I was with Amazon Web Services for 18 months as a solutions architect focused on Canadian security customers. During my time at the Government of Canada, I led many projects as a network and security lead for building Government of Canada private cloud. I also led as a network and security lead projects to build 2 Department of National Defense data centers as well. In my current role with United Nations, I'm the cloud security lead for the Quality of Life project, which is expected to scale to hundreds of thousands of users around the world in the coming few years, and expected to scale worldwide with users from all over the world. It's currently a $20 million project, projected to be a $100 million project within a few years. In addition to these important roles and projects, you can see I'm constantly learning, developing new skills. You can see that from my portfolio on my website, salmannaqvi.com, and you can also see I have done 26 IT certifications so far, 12 of which are listed on my resume. Most recent ones being related to cloud security and automation and artificial intelligence. So something like that, basically. And so that should have sounded impressive, and it was very intentionally meant to be impressive. So I wanted to, and so all of you have impressive things about you, and you want to make sure to say all of the most important, impressive things together. And you might have noticed that I didn't go necessarily in like a chronological order or reverse chronological order. I just mentioned the most important things first, and then slowly went into more and more detail afterwards. So, and so that's basically how you want to answer that question. And you want the person on the other side of the table to walk away impressed and with their mind blown, All right. So with that, we'll move over to behavioral questions. And so by the time you get to the interview, the interviewer can already see on your resume that you have expertise in .NET, in Java, on Next.js, in Oracle, in Cisco, whatever you have expertise in. They can already see that from your resume. Whether they know it or not, most people who are interviewing, they are trying to decide whether you would be a good fit from a personality perspective at that company. And this happens all the time. in the hundreds of interviews I've conducted, and in the interview in situations where I've been interviewed myself, I have seen that most often, technically, the most qualified candidate does not get the job. And that's simply because they are not a good fit for that environment. If you are like the world's best coder, but you are not going to work well in a team of people because you're not a nice person, then the company won't hire you because they don't care about your world's best coding skills. If you can't work with others, then it won't be good for the company to have that kind of person. So practicing is so important. Okay, so this is the fourth time that I'm doing this presentation. 3 times was on my own, sitting alone in front of my computer, saying all of this stuff out loud to myself. So practicing is very important. With interviews, you don't want to just practice like I did in front of my computer alone. You want to do it with other people, with your husband, with your wife, daughter, son, parents, friend, anybody, okay? And they don't need to be interview experts or anything. They don't even need to give you feedback. All they need to be able to do is you give them the questions and the notes that you have and ask them to ask you questions randomly. And during your preparation phase, you will make up questions and you will also share these questions with them, the behavioral questions, and ask them to randomly ask you questions from those questions, okay? When you prepare, you would be so much more infinitely prepared and will have so much less nervousness in the interview than if you're not prepared. And then I cannot stress enough, practicing out loud is important. With a person in front of you, whether it's a friend or a husband or wife or child or mother, father, anybody, having a person in front of you and speaking in front of them will make a gigantic difference in how well you do in the actual interview. And rehearse multiple times. So hopefully by the time you get to the interview day, you have done your prep, you've done your practice, you have all your detailed notes, right? Review all your notes before the interview. Make sure you rest well the night before. And then make sure you have some extra energy, right? And for somebody that might mean a little bit extra coffee, a little bit extra tea. It might mean doing some jumping jacks or pull-ups or push-ups or squats right before the interview so that you get some blood flowing and be extra energetic. You want to dress formally. For men, suit and tie. For women, whatever is appropriate in your culture and region, right? And so even for remote interviews, you want to dress formally. Khadija has a question.
Yeah, thanks, Salman. I just want to stress on the point of practicing. You said earlier that for your AWS, for your Amazon interview, you prepared for around 100 hours, and for the government of Canada interview, you prepared for around 40 hours. Basically, you've said like the mechanism of how did you practice and all of that, but what is the content that we should like, what are the steps of practicing? Like, for example, should I look into the job description and go through every task in one in a row? What should I do? How it's the best way to practice for those interviews?
Yeah, great question. So I recommend minimum 20 hours. So 10 hours, what you're doing is you're researching the company, researching the people that are going to be interviewing you, researching how you would be a good fit for that company, right? What value you bring. And And then also within that 10 hours, matching the job description with the resume, and then preparing talking points for everything that matches. So if you have Next.js and OSPF that is matching, you prepare notes for that. So 10 hours is doing these two things. So these two things, okay? Research and notes and matching. The other 10 hours are preparing to answer the behavioral question. So that's the specific regimen that I recommend. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Okay. And then, like I'm trying to just kind of condense everything in this call. I want to make sure we have time for Q&A. But I highly recommend read the book. It'll only take you 2 to 4 hours, 2 to 4 hours to get through. You can download it for free. And that will also go through it in more detail as well. All right. And then so the last thing I think I was saying was dress formally, even for remote interviews. Okay. When you do a lot of preparation, you will be more confident. You will still probably be nervous. I always am. But you will be less nervous. And then when you are more confident, inshallah, you will achieve success at the interview. Okay. Make sure to show enthusiasm. Okay. Smile. Use enthusiastic words. I'm passionate. I'm thrilled. I'm excited. And then do whatever you need to do to get your blood flowing. Have extra sugar, extra coffee, extra tea, extra jumping jacks, squats, whatever you need to do. Okay. And we kind of, we went over this already, but suit and tie for men, whatever the formal attires for women in your region, right? Never go into an interview casual. So don't do what I'm wearing. I'm wearing my Palestine shirt, so that's why I'm wearing this today. But you want to be in a suit and tie. This is not an interview. I'm talking with friends, so I can do this. Even if you're preparing for an interview with a company that is run by your friends, or a company that nobody wears suit and tie, even then wear formal. Be ready to handle difficult questions. One very important rule in interview is never say anything negative. Okay. So let's say you had a terrible boss in your last job. Don't say you had a terrible job in your last job. Sorry, boss in your last job. Okay. So you can consider saying it in a more diplomatic way. Sometimes my manager was extra critical of my work, and this is how I made sure to try to keep him or her happy. But never say anything negative about previous employers. When interviewers hear that, they don't. It leaves a bad impression. I mentioned avoid politics. By politics, I mean like work politics, like corporate politics, things like that. Excuse me. This is also one of the most important things to say in an interview at the end of the interview. Okay. At the end of the interview, you want to have a very strong close, which is basically saying that you want the job. Okay. Thank you for your time. I know I would be a great fit for the security architect role at Acme Incorporated. My skills and experience perfectly aligned with what you're looking for based on our discussion. And I want you to know that I want this role. I want this job. Okay. This will convey to your potential employer that you are super enthusiastic about this role, and this will leave an impression on them. And 99% of other people will not do this. Even for me, even though I tell people to do this, and I have been doing this, even for me, it's hard to do, even after doing it many, many times. So try to kind of get over that hesitation and do it. Also, make sure to send a thank you letter. My estimate is 70 to 90% of people don't send thank you letters. Don't make it more than 2 or 3 paragraphs. Mention anything that you forgot to mention during the interview or didn't get time to mention during the interview, right? Make sure to, in the thank you letter, also say very clearly, I want this role, I want this job, I want this position, okay? Combining the close, the ultimate close, with the thank you letter will help you be more memorable. So not only are you doing the close, which most people won't do, you're also doing a thank you letter, which most people don't do, and that will make you extra memorable. Waid, sorry, I'm probably mispronouncing your name. You have a question?
Hi. Yes, my name is Waid. Mike, could you give us an example for the thank you letter? Or what to write exactly, or
Oh, what to write in the thank you letter?
some advice? Yes, no, some advice or some example we can look at or something.
Yes. So
Suggested sentences or something.
yeah, I think I might have one ready. Oh wait, I have it in my book. Yeah. There, yeah. So I have a example of a thank you letter in my book. So it's near the end on page 19. And then, feed your resume and the job description to ChatGPT, and then ask it to write a thank you letter for you. And then tell it, okay, make it 3 paragraphs and mention this and that. And then change the wording so that it doesn't sound so robotic. Make it modified to be more authentic to what you like. So, we have the power of ChatGPT. So use that to your advantage.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So this is the last slide. So basically, keep all the things in mind, make the notes, learn about the organization, match stuff between the resume and job description, make notes about that, be ready to answer open-ended questions, spend at least 10 hours preparing for behavioral questions, review your own resume. I actually didn't mention that. Anything that's in your resume, even if it's not part of the job description, they can ask you about that. Okay. So like, let's say this job that I did 15 years ago. In here, I say that I've worked with Free Radius. Maybe they might ask me a question about Free Radius, right? Anything that's in the resume, they can ask about that. So make sure to review everything that you have in your resume from before and be prepared, mentally prepared for that. Professional attire, be ready to answer difficult questions, practice the close because that's hard to do. I acknowledge that it's very hard to do, but practice it. And then make sure to set a reminder for yourself to send the thank you letter after the interview and send it within 24 hours, ideally within a few hours after the interview. All right, so maybe now we can do some Q&A.
Yes, thank you so much, Salman. we'll start getting some questions from the chat, but please, anyone, feel free to raise your hand. And yeah, and even if you have a question in Arabic, maybe you want us to ask it instead of like and translate it, I can do it for you. So إذا حدا عنده أي سؤال بالعربي وحابب يسأله عادي اكتبوا لنا إياه بالشات وإحنا بنترجمه بنسأله سلمان وبنترجم لكم الإجابة ما تخجلوا بس اكتبوا لنا إياه.
Thank
Okay.
you so much, Khadija.
لا.
And so I
أهلاً.
noticed Nada's question in the chat. And you can use different resume templates for different types of roles. And so I have some templates in this folder. And so for Nada's question, so I'll read that question out loud. For second year student, if I want to apply to internship, what is the most important thing I have to focus on in the interview and in my resume? Okay. So I have just shared this resume template. And maybe in the future, we can also do a call focused on resume. And because that's also one of the key things that I do on a regular basis on how to build a resume that gets attention, that gets past the algorithms, and gets you interviews. So this is one of my most favorite template. This is great for people with less experience or people who are students. And so you can highlight your education, you can highlight your courses and certification, and then you can highlight projects, because that's like the main things that you do in your while you're studying, right? So this could be a good example to follow. And then for people who have some experience, let's say even 4 or 5 years of experience, you can consider following the example that I have of my own resume. And again, the resume is a whole another topic, but if there's more questions about that, we can talk about that. So what I've done is I have a resume highlights page, which has all the most impressive things about me on the first page. I'll open a bigger version here. And then my detailed resume appears here. So then basically the first page is for human beings to see, and then the rest of the pages, and you can see there's 9 pages in total. There so that there's content in there so that when it gets filtered through the algorithms, through application tracking systems that companies use, my resume ends up being one of the top few percent of resumes that actually gets looked at. And yeah. All right, so Dina has a question. What if I don't have experience, but have done some of the job requirements before as a volunteer or as a project in uni or something? Yeah, so like basically the same thing. I would recommend having a resume similar to this, right? Where you can really highlight your projects and your education and your certifications, right? And then you can highlight like you can have a volunteer section as well. So if I show you my resume, it has a volunteer section as well. And so you can put whatever you want in the volunteer section as well. And yeah, so you can kind of combine both of these ideas. All right. Another question from Bilal. If a candidate doesn't meet every single technical requirement in a job description, how can they still present themselves strongly in the interview without drawing attention to those gaps? Okay, that's a very good and very important question. Okay, so I'm not sure what the norms are in other parts of the world, but in Canada, US, most of Europe, what happens with a lot of job descriptions is they list like 100 different technologies. I'm exaggerating. It might be closer to like 40, 50 different technologies. And nobody knows all the technologies. And everybody knows that, a single person can only have limited amount of knowledge. But they still put it in the job description because of like requirements from HR, from compliance, regulatory compliance, compliance with union rules, things like that. So a job description for a software developer might say, oh, you must know C++ and ASP and .NET and Next.js and all the other, 10 other programming languages, Python. But this one person doesn't know all the programming languages, right? No software developer knows all the programming languages. But they still put it in the job description because of requirements that are because of legal and other requirements. And part of it is also because if let's say the company is using .NET and they move everything over to Next.js, and people complain, hey, like that's not part of the job description, then they can say, no, it is actually part of the job description. You do need to know Next.js as well. So keeping that in mind, don't be afraid of applying to positions, to all types of positions. And if they call you in for an interview, they know from your resume what skills you have. And so from the resume, and this kind of goes back to this slide. They have already decided from looking at your resume that you will probably be a qualified candidate. And so the interview, more than anything, is about evaluating your aptitude and your capabilities, what you bring to the table. And they can see that you are very strong in .NET, but you don't have Next.js skills. They know that they can teach you because these programming skills are transferable. If you're working in Cisco and they have HP switches, they know that a person who works on Cisco switches can also work on HP switches, etc. All right. Next question. And you're welcome to also unmute and ask as well, whatever everybody's comfortable with. Next question from Sarah. What about the expected salary? Something happened to me recently. I started a job 6 months ago. When they asked me about my expected salary, I gave them a number. Later, I found out that the company pays more than double that amount to others at the same level. After that, I also checked the market, and people with the same experience are earning almost twice my salary. Yeah, so this especially, this is like really terrible of the company to do this. Like the company shouldn't do it to begin with. And unfortunately, this happens to women a lot more. And, we know the stats from all over the world, different parts of the world. Women are earning half or 3/4 or 70% of income for the same job, right? One way to answer the question without saying a specific number is I am looking for a salary that is competitive in the current market. Okay. And so, and competitive in the current market, you can figure that out. They can figure that out by just searching on Google a little bit, right? There's also an app called Blind. Am I remembering the right one? Yeah, Blind. Okay. This is an app. It lists anonymously salaries of positions at a bunch of different companies for a bunch of different roles. Okay. And so this is definitely something good to bookmark during your job search journey. So you can get an idea of what to expect. Yeah. So again, I might not have been extra clear when answering that question, so I'll answer that question again. I'm looking for a salary that is competitive in the current market for this role. Okay. I'm looking for a salary that is competitive in this market for this role, in the current market for this role, right? You can say it in your own words, but basically you want to say some of those words: competitive, salary, right? Focusing on that. And so hopefully that will help you avoid these kind of situations. And I've been in this kind of situation myself. I found out afterwards that people doing half as much work as me are getting paid the same amount, and things like that. And once you have found that out, after you've been there for a year, maybe 8 months, 10 months, you can ask them, hey, I know the salary of my colleagues. Can you please be equitable and, give me the appropriate salary, right? So I know that's a difficult conversation to have, but consider doing that. All right. Dina's question, actually, is it okay to ask about the salary in the first interview? Either there is a consequence of the interviews, or is it the only one? Yeah, so that can be tricky. Is it okay to ask about the salary in the first interview? And so I would say that depends on your situation. If you're unemployed, maybe wait to ask about the salary. But if you're currently already employed and you don't want to waste your time or their time, let's say they love you and then they give you half the salary of what you're currently making, that would be a waste of their time and your time, right? So then you can frame it that way, right? And say, I want to make sure I'm respectful of your time. And before we continue further, can you please tell me what the expected salary range for this role is, so that we make the best use of our collective time, right? Something like that. So basically it depends on the situation, whether you're unemployed or whether you're moving from one job to another. Question from Osaid. Thank you. If I'm presented with a problem-solving question and I can't find a way to solve it, is it okay to simply give up on it and ask for the next problem? Will it be a bad look? Yeah, okay. I'm really happy you asked that question. So sometimes companies trick you and ask you a question that doesn't have a solution. And what they are doing is they are evaluating your communication skills, your logic skills, your problem-solving skills, your presentation skills, your questioning skills, things like that. So they might ask you a question that doesn't have a solution intentionally, and they want to see how you are working through that problem. So what you want to do is not give up and talk them through how you are thinking about solving that problem, and keep and have that discussion, have that communication And so what they do in these type of situations, like they're not even doing anything wrong or malicious, right? What they are doing is um, they want to know how well you will handle their customers. You're well said, you might become a security engineer with Acme Incorporated, and they might put you in front of customers, and they want to make sure that Usaid will be a good, proud representative of Acme Incorporated. You'll be going to their clients as their representative, and they want to make sure that you can ask the right questions, you can things through critically, etc. Khadija, you have a question?
Yeah, thanks you, Salman. I actually have two questions.
Yes.
There are follow-up questions on something you've already answered, but let's just start from the salary question. So I understand the situation right now with most of the people who are joining this call. Like a lot of us have already lost their jobs, and we're desperately like looking for any job just to break the gap in our CVs and resumes. The thing is that I understand you said if I was asked about the salary, I would say that I want a competitive salary. I usually before I go to any interview, I do a little search about the market search, and I actually ask ChatGPT about the this position, this particular company. But the thing is that what if they insist on a number? Is it okay to ask them, what do you offer? Because for myself, like I was in the situation recently and they asked, what is your benchmark? And I said, um, like after a long conversation, like, what do you offer? And they said, would like to hear from you. I said, I have a number in my mind, but I also want to know what do you offer. So they said a range, and I told them that basically your range. So they told me like let's say from 10 to 15 in some currency, and I told them okay, but actually the number in my mind is the minimum is the 15 one. The trick is that how can we still get a good amount like in salary, like dignified salary, and at the same time not lose this employment opportunity? This is my first question. I don't know, should I ask my second question and then answer, or wait for you? What is better
Yeah,
with you?
let's do one at a time because sometimes I
Okay.
have a memory of a goldfish.
No way.
Um,
Okay,
uh,
go ahead.
so yeah, it's always tricky, and it really just depends on the situation, right? And again, if you are unemployed and you just want the next job, even if the salary is low, like maybe you just take it and then do that job for 6 months and then start looking for the next one, right? In IT, people move around a lot, right? And people don't hold it against you. People want experience. Companies want people with experience in a bunch of different organizations. It ends up making them more valuable over time. So if you end up in a sticky situation where you end up getting a low salary for a while, that's okay. And twice in my career, I have taken a low salary to work at a bigger company. So I did that with Amazon. I did that with Cisco, um, so that I could get that Cisco and Amazon name on my resume. So I did that very intentionally. Um, and but on the other hand, if you are in a situation where you already have employment, then then the strategy that you can take to get maximum salary is to overestimate. So in your example, you know, 10 to 15, and your minimum was 15, and they ask you for a number, you say 15 to 20. And so then even if they give you the minimum, you're still happy because that was your minimum. But maybe they say 18 and then you're really happy, right? So it really, those two situations can be depending on whether you have employment or not and how badly you need that next employment, right? And you're not stuck at any job, like you leave that job in 6 months and go to another one. No one will ever hold that against you.
Okay, thank you. The other question is what I was curious about is the technical job or any type of expertise that is required and mentioned in the job description. I'm not talking about some certain, let's say, programming language or so. Just like one of the vital things in the job description that is mentioned there, and maybe I've mentioned in my CV or resume that I had a course, for example, in that, or I worked in a small project, but I didn't like practice this in a full-time paid job. The question is that how, if I was asked about it in my interview, what is the best way to say that I have a background about it, like either through a course or through quick or a small project, but how to show that I'm very dedicated to learn, I'm a fast learner, and all of that will make up the things that I'm not at the top expertise at in comparison of other candidates who may have really good experience at it. I understand that at the moment, as you mentioned, at the moment where my CV has already brought me to the interview stage, that I already meet most of the technical qualifications, but it's becoming more competitive to compete with the other candidates. So how to stand out?
Yeah, great question. So it's perfectly okay to say, I worked on this as part of this project, and this project was on a volunteer basis with this organization, or this was my own personal project. So for my own personal project, I did X, Y, and Z. And it's perfectly okay to say that. And in a competitive market, standing out, a few ways you can stand out is by having a blog and having a good GitHub profile. So, GitHub profile may not apply to anybody who's not doing development here, but for everybody else, you can have a blog, right? And so let's say like you don't even have to have your own domain name. Let's say you create khadijaramlawi.wordpress.com, nobody has taken this, so you can build your wordpress.com domain blog right now, and you can start putting posts on there, right? And then now, thanks to ChatGPT, like you don't even have to do a lot of effort to make a blog post. So let's do a quick live example right now. So let's say I created I created this project, and I've already written some text about it, right? So what I can do is just copy some of the text from here, right? And go to ChatGPT, right? And then just say create a blog post about this content, make it 3 paragraphs, right? And then copy and paste the content, right? And then it will create that blog post, and then when you go to khadijaramlawi.wordpress.com, you can just very quickly go and create a new post and then copy and paste that in. And then, like edit it a little bit, make sure it sounds human, make sure it hasn't made any mistakes. Just do some basic editing, and then publish. And so then when you go to your blog, it's right there, right? And so like within a few seconds, I have a blog post based on content that I've already created from before, right? So don't get it to like make random blog posts. Do it based on stuff that you have already worked on, right? So like I could have also maybe told it to do a blog post based on this content or something like that, which I built from before, right? And so when you tell it to write the blog post based on stuff you have already done, then it's really unique to you. It's not just random AI generated gibberish. And WordPress.com makes it super easy. And so, and then, Khadija, and then you can put that khadijaramlawi.wordpress.com on top of your resume. And that's part of your web presence. So does that answer your question?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Okay. Was that your first question or second question? I forgot about that already too.
Oh, no, that was my second question. You already answered the salary and the experience question. So,
Right. Okay. Yes. Okay. It came back to me. All right.
thank you.
Yeah. So I really encourage everybody. So everything that I've discussed in this call is in the book, but in the book it's in a lot more detail. I've tried to make the book short yet still comprehensive. So when you read the book, you will see I have examples of what kind of notes to take as well. And then as one of the people asked questions about the thank you letter, I have that in there as well. And then I have some resume tips as well, which we just slightly touched on, and other things in here as well. So I highly recommend that you go through this, and then you're welcome to share this anywhere freely as well. So yeah.
Yeah. And I would like to mention also, Salman, that this for people who joined us in the last 30 minutes or so, they weren't able to join us from the start of the session, that this was a 1.5 long session, and we're already gonna post this on our YouTube channel. We're gonna drop this. Please feel free to subscribe our YouTube channel. You will find the full session and also all the links that Salman shared in the description below the video. So please feel free to contact us if you need anything, slides, the book, or anything else. And please feel free to reach out to Salman. He's an amazing person. I already admire all the things that he's been doing the last few years. I would say recently introduced to him like this year, but I feel so honored that I got this chance, and I'm glad that you were here. This was a very interesting session. I already learned a lot from you. I'm sure others did as well, and we had a great time. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'll just say one more time, I've been running weekly meetings called Freedom Advocacy Network. I highly encourage you to subscribe to the weekly meetings. I have been hosting all sorts of amazing speakers, everyday individuals like me, but also some semi-famous ones as well. And in the next few sessions that are planned, next week, we're going to have an anti-Zionist Jewish friend who's going to be talking about Bundism. The week after that, on August 20th, so this is every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Palestine time. So I know it's a little late for our friends there, but if you're able to join, we're going to have Paul Bigart, the founder of Tech for Palestine. He is an amazing, brilliant individual doing amazing work for the community. The week after that, we're going to have a Palestinian friend who is going to be talking about the military intervention and funding for that. And so that should be an interesting session. Week after that, we're going to have, so I still have to put the agenda here, a friend from Hollywood who would be talking about representation of Arabs and Muslims in Hollywood. And so I have all sorts of interesting sessions. And then you can also see notes from past sessions as well in here as well. So yeah, anyways, lots of interesting guest speakers coming up. So please consider subscribing and joining. 100% free, there's no cost or anything. And join if you're so inclined. So yeah.
Great, great. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And thank you everyone for joining. We hope to see you in future sessions. Please follow us on our social media platforms. We post there our on our job readiness sessions, which is basically twice a month. And would be really happy to have you all there in every session. And yes, and would love to have maybe another session with Salman in the near future. But please let us know what are the things that you're looking for, things that you'd love to learn more about, and we're more than happy to do a session, to run sessions about it. Again, thank you so much, all of you, for joining, and thank you so much, Salman, for this interesting session. We'll hope to see you soon in future sessions, all of you. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. It was my honor. Thank you.